the sin of the father, and vice versa. We don't have that concept. So let's not introduce it in our deen. Where's the love? Love for humanity. How would the Prophet ﷺ have reacted? You know, it's interesting. Gary Miller, who was a missionary and became Muslim, he said, you know, often I make dua and I thank Allah. Ya Allah, thank you that I came to Islam before I met Muslims. And he's so right sometimes. You look at the practice and you think, good grief, is this what we do? One of the Imams was saying, oh, we can't get halal meat in prison. It's not halal because it's a non-Muslim company that gives halal meat. So they have a Muslim slaughterman, they do this. And I said to him, so why does that make it not halal? He goes, because in our Sharia, we trust Muslims more than non-Muslims. They are more reliable. I said, brother, Mufti Sahib, please. You know, if you came up north and told us that, we'd laugh at you. Because up north, when there's a problem with plumbing, they say, don't get a Muslim. Get a non-Muslim. When there's an electrician, get a Muslim. Get a non-Muslim. Don't get a Muslim. Practice is the opposite. We don't engender trust as a nation, as a group. Leave your heart. We don't use our brains. And how did the Prophet ﷺ react when he was taunted by the poets of the day? And that's how we should do. That's how I just wanted to, I can go on to different, but I don't have the time. But about the Prophet ﷺ frugality, how when he died, and the beautiful things about his life, the oil in the lamp, that was all that was left. The marks on his shoulders when he used to sleep. There was no bed or anything like that. There was no wallpaper. He was so hungry, he used to have 2 stones tied to his chest. His honesty. One of the things that Gary Miller said, I said, what made you become Muslim? He said it was a story about the solar eclipse when his son, the Prophet's son, Ibrahim, when he died, there was a solar eclipse. And non-Muslims, pagans, came running out to the Prophet and they said, oh, you are a prophet of God. Look, your son dies and the sun dies. And Gary Miller said, you know, I stopped there and I thought, brilliant, he's got it. And up till that time, I'd been told he was an imposter. What would an imposter do in a situation like that? I told you, you wouldn't believe me. I told you I was a prophet of God. He didn't. He said the planets and their movements have nothing to do with the life and death of a person on earth. That's honesty. Dates, he was known as Al-Amin as-Sadiq, we all know that, but who was he known as Al-Amin by? By all the Pakistanis in his street? By the Muslims who lived around him? Who called him Al-Amin? The non-Muslims in his town. They described him as the most trustworthy, the most honest. His compassion, conquest of Makkah, the Jewish woman who used to throw rubbish, or pagan woman who used to throw rubbish on him, the Christians of Najran, how he dealt with Bedouins, the children who then grew up and wrote about him. He would always take our hand whenever he was there. He'd play with us. He'd kiss us. When the Sahaba said, when he saw him kissing a child, he said, I never kiss my children. Yes, and then the Prophet said he was no compassion, would be shown no compassion. How he was with Aisha when they saw the dance in the mosque, Aisha with a cheek next to the cheek of the Prophet ﷺ. How he was with Fatima. He used to always take off his cloak, put it down for his daughter. How Anas bin Malik, the young boy, he said, once I was sitting in the company of quite a few elders and the Prophet ﷺ was there and he wanted to give milk, that's right, round. And you always start with the right. So I was sitting next to the Prophet ﷺ. But over here were very important people. So the Prophet ﷺ turned around to me, and he was very young, and he said, can I have your permission to give the milk from here? And I said no, because I wanted milk from his hands directly. And I asked a permission. Who would do that? Which Imam would say, go over there? How people, today's climate is different. His love was totally different. His concern for the Ummah, love of Allah, fasting, in the cave of Hira before prophethood, how he loved to go from one prayer, longing for the next prayer, to be with his Creator. He was given the choice whether to stay in this life or to be taken up, and he chose to be taken up. And among his dying words was Salah, Salah, Salah. Prayer, prayer, prayer. That's what's missing. That's what he worried about his ummah about. Concern for animals, the camel that cried to him. There's so many stories. His care for prisoners, how he fed prisoners with his own hand. Which ruler does that? Yeah, the man who sinned and committed adultery, and the woman who committed it, and he didn't want to hear. Why? Because of sin, compassion. Because it was a sin for them personally. It didn't affect and harm people. And we know more about him than anybody else. We're enjoined by duty, but more than duty. You can't love out of duty. I can't force love. It's not something you force. It's an order now. Everybody must love. No, it doesn't work like that. Love is acquired through getting to know someone. And here is a person we know so much about. And we are supposed to get to a position where we love him more than ourselves. And every day you hear heroic things about people, what they do for love of people. And that's how we're supposed to be with the Prophet ﷺ. How people defended him physically then. How women Sahaba bit into his cheek to take out the shield that was embedded in him in the Battle of Uhud. Yeah, that's how much love they had. How they used to massage his head. He used to go to one house and a woman used to sit there, massage, take out the nits from his hair. How he may make wudu and not a drop would fall on the floor because people would take it to drink it. How the hair, when his hair was cut, people used to... That's how much adulation, love they had for this man. And people say he was an imposter. Imposters doesn't survive 1400 years of character, of love and so on. Somehow people always get caught out. Jazakallah for listening. I know I've taken more of the time, but I hope I've addressed one of the issues, inshallah.